Hello, Humane marketers. Sarah Znakrocha here. Welcome to another episode of the Humane Marketing Podcast, a place to be for the generation of marketers who cares. This is the show where we talk about marketing your business in a way that feels good to you, is aligned with your values, and also resonates more with your conscious customers because it's not pushy, ethical, and also beautiful. So if you're a regular here, you know that I'm organizing the conversations around the 7 Ps of humane marketing. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You may want to download your one-page marketing plan with the 7 Ps of humane marketing in the form of a mandala at humane.marketing/one page, the number one and page. So again, humane.marketing/one page. And with that, with no further ado, let's dive into today's conversation. Hi, James. I'm so happy to hang out with you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm delighted to have this conversation about websites. So let's see all the different topics we could get into. We tried to beforehand, right, come up with some questions. And so I do want to ask you one that you're like, maybe not this one, but I'm like, well, I'm going to ask you anyway.
Sure, yeah.
Because actually, in the bio that I just read about you, I did say you're a web and graphic designer, right? So website designer, graphic designer. And I know that quite a lot of people sometimes get confused. Well, what is what? Who does what? And so I'd like to start us off there so that you can kind of give us a good distinction between what does a graphic designer do and what does a web designer do. And if I need a website, who do I look for then?
Yeah, sure. It's actually quite a good question, I think, for people that are not aware, obviously, the difference between a web and a graphic designer. Being in the industry, a lot of people are aware. So a graphic designer is someone that designs graphics. It could either be print-based or digital-based. So it can either be brochures, leaflets, billboards, and they could do digital design as well. So they could design adverts to go on social media. There is crossover between that and websites, so they can design graphics that specifically go on websites as well, so they can sit on a website. But how they differ from a web designer is that they're not techie, so they're not able to. Most graphic designers are not able to develop and build websites. So web designer is actually more technical in terms of they're able to either code, build website with code, HTML, WordPress, software like that, or they can use no-code software as well, which I work with as well. So I work with a program called Elementor, along with WordPress. So I'm able to kind of use drag and drop software. So I'm coming from a graphic design background to a web design background. So there is some crossover, but generally graphic designers tend to design the graphics either for print or digital, and they don't really tend to do websites. So they differ in that instance. I hope that kind of clears up things a little bit.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess a graphic designer can learn to be a web designer and then be both, which is your case. And a web designer can also, or no, that's a question. Do web designers sometimes also go into graphic design, or maybe that direction is less common? What would you say?
I've actually met quite a few people that have gone both. So from like myself, from graphic design into website design, and then vice versa, website design to graphic design. And I think it just matters on your technical ability and what you enjoy. If you enjoy graphic design, if you enjoy sort of creating, anything from logos to branding, brochures, graphic design is so wide as well. And then it easily crosses over onto website design. It's kind of similar to coaching in a way, I guess, because a lot of sort of business coaches, for example, that I work with tend to do, personal coaching as well, live coaching, and vice versa. So there's some crossover there as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
they can be crossover as well. Yeah.
Yeah. In my sense of understanding this is the graphic design has to do with the beauty. It has to do with the aesthetics, with the art, with the colors, with the logo, with the word says it, graphic, right? And so the web designer would be probably more oriented towards the functionality of the site, of the website. So being like, all these click funnels and lead generation things that is more tech related. So in a way, I guess it's a good idea to look for someone who has an understanding of both, because then you get an aesthetically good looking website that also has the functionality behind it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's why people like to hire me.
Yeah, there you
Because
go.
because I'm able to do both. And from a UX and UI point of view, I'm able to kind of wireframe, create like a blueprint and a map of the user experience as well, which is quite key. I think a lot of web designers don't tend to think of that as well. So it's not just making sure the website looks pretty, but also the fact that you're thinking about calls to action, your call to action buttons, getting people to book discovery calls or sign up to your mailing list, or
Yeah, so let's get in all of that, because there's a lot to uncover. So basically, yeah, we now know that there's both, right? There's the aesthetics, and then there's the actual user friendliness and the functionality behind the site. So maybe before we go into the functionality, like this is embarrassing, but like more than 15 years ago when I started out, I actually also designed some small websites for clients. WordPress was like really new back then. And so I quickly noticed how difficult of a job it actually is. Not so much because of, I was using WordPress, so it's pretty simple to put a website together. But where I always got stuck is with the clients and their content, like the design of the site and their actual understanding of what needs to go on a site. So I think that's also why there's a lot of people, I don't know if that happens to you, but I know it happens to me, that come with baggage and they complain about their website designer. They're like, it just didn't work out. And oftentimes it's because there's a miscommunication of who does what and in what kind of time frame. And so how can we help, or to which level do we as the client have to be prepared when we go to a website designer in terms of our content, in terms of knowing what needs to go on this website?
Yeah, so the content is a key thing in any website. And before, when I kind of started out, I used to kind of rely on the client giving me the content, and it doesn't always work out, because what you've designed a website and you put everything together and you made it look nice, and you've put stock images there, and you've put some Laura Ipsum text to kind of fill the gaps, and you create a nice looking website. And then the client they do two things: that either hand you very little content, so there's hardly any text or any writing that they put together themselves, or they can either give you too much content, so there's a lot to kind of pick out and put on the website. And the information is key, because the information is what's going to sell your services. So it's one of the most important things on a website. And before, when I started out, I used to always think about the design side, and coming from a graphic design point of view as well, I used to always think about looking at making the website look pretty, and probably less so on the content. But as I've developed as a web designer and working with coaches now, I realize that part of what we do is working with the coaches and having copywriters on board to help them create copy that is great to go on the website, and that is targeted at their target clients, addresses their pain points, and sells their services in a way that reflects them in a positive light, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see the same thing. It's like it can really be this idea, oh, I need a website. But then once they talk to you or talk to any website designer, then they tell them, well, have you thought about, who's your ideal client? How are you going to describe it? So it's like it's this basically box of worms that all of a sudden gets discovered. It's like, oh, I thought that was going to be quick and easy, and then I have all these other things that I now need to look at and write about.
Yeah, I mean, the planning stage is key with any website. Sometimes clients will come to you, and I used to have this a lot when I was starting out. They'll say, we need a website done in a week or 2 weeks, or unrealistic deadlines, and they're kind of rushing, and they've got content ready, and they're trying to kind of create a website, and they think that you can very easily create a website in a matter of a few days or a week, and you can, but it's like with anything, it's good to sit down and plan out the user experience, wireframe, and on paper, just even sketch out what kind of number of pages, the menu structure, the calls to action, what kind of information you're going to have, testimonials, all of that kind of stuff, social proof, and then lay out what goes where, and think about that, and spend time thinking about that before you've done any kind of development or design. That is a must, I think, now working with clients, because we spend a good couple of weeks actually just on that when I work with clients now, before we do any development work. Yeah.
Right. So take us into this user experience, because you mentioned it a few times now. So what does that mean? Take me on this journey. So let's say, I'm landing on a website for the first time. I'm on the homepage. What needs to happen next? So take me through that journey.
Yeah. So when you've landed on a homepage, for example, which is another word for landing page as well. So a landing page could be any page really on the website. It's the first page that you're directed to, and often that is the homepage. But often you'll see a homepage, and you'll see, you've got the menu at the top, you've got your items below it. So you will have like a hero image, and you will have welcome to the website, or whatever the company or person does on the website, and then you have testimonials below it, and you will have services, what the coach does, for example, calls to action, but it's really mapping out clearly what goes where in terms of the information. So you want to be, for example, you don't want to be telling people about you necessarily, what you do and how great you are. You want to be talking about how you're helping them with their problem. So it's problem solution, and you've got a list of your ideal client, what kind of issues they're going through. For example, if you're in a corporate kind of coach, that's helping people that are coming out of the corporate environment, you want to say that, this is what I do. Are you coming out of a corporate job? Are you looking to, start your own business, or if you're getting into coaching, for example? And as soon as they see that at the top, they know that this site is for them, because people would immediately turn off in the first, couple of 3 to 5 seconds if they don't see any benefit in the website, and they'll just click off. So you have a high bounce rate as well.
Yeah. It's actually what we're just talking about this today in the Humane Marketing Circle is the unique value proposition. What it is you are offering to me as the visitor to your website. How is it different from anybody else's offer? And do I feel concerned? Like
USP,
yeah. Do you speak to me, or instead do you just speak about yourself, and then I have to figure out if you're actually the right fit for me?
I think a lot of people make that mistake because they want to say, how great they are, how many qualifications they've got, certifications, testimonials. They want to, literally tell the whole world about how great they are, but they forget about the client that they're kind of helping and what their problems are, and really speaking to the client. Everything that you should be doing should be speaking towards your ideal client. And again, that's tied into the marketing side of things that you're aware of.
Right.
And a lot of web designers or graphic designers don't tend to think about that, because it's a shame, because a lot of web design and graphic design is quite separate from marketing.
Right.
So coming from a background of both, I'm able to kind of have both sides and think, from a customer user point of view, and think from a technical point of view, and also from a design and colorful and making everything look pretty kind of point of view as well.
Yeah.
So that it's a problem that I think we have in the industry, where in the whole kind of design industry, where there's a miscommunication often between the marketing message and what you're trying to portray on an advertisement on a website. There can be a misalignment there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's often the case in corporations as well, where they separate marketing from sales, and here it's the same. Marketing should be part of it, because that's essentially what you're doing with your website. You're not wanting to talk to yourself, you're wanting to talk to your ideal clients. And everything you just said about the homepage, I learned it's the same thing on your about page. On your about page, of course, we think, oh, it's about me. And yes, it is, but only in a second instance. It really is, again, people come to your about page because they want to find out if you're a good match for them. So they're really looking at the about page as a mirror, much more than, I'm so interested in this person that they don't know yet, right? And so it's kind of like just more like a checklist. Okay, yes, this aligns. And so it's the same thing for the about page. So talk to us a bit more about the engagement. So, it could be perceived that a website is a static thing because, it just sits there. So how do we make it engaging, that actually people stay on it, first of all, read our information, and then maybe even go a step further? How do we get them to stay in touch?
Yeah, I mean, one of the key things is not to put all of the information out there in terms of content. So if you want to create engagement, for example, FAQs are a good example of this. So you don't want to frequently asked questions that you have. You don't want to sort of list them all out on the website. You want to have options where people can click on a question, and they have a drop down, and it tells them a little bit more about it. So anything that kind of people can interact with and engage with, buttons that lead them onto another page, for example, that tells them a little bit more information. So if you've got like a book, for example, that you're selling, and you said, do you want to buy this book right now? And then you clicked on the book, and it just went to the purchase page, and it was just like selling you the book. From a buying point of view, it's not a great sales experience, because you're not really giving them any more information about the book that they're buying. So you want to create almost like a sales funnel, where they click on to find out more about the book that you're selling, for example, how it can benefit them, maybe give them like a free sample or demo that they can download, like a PDF, and then an option afterwards to then click and purchase. So it's very much thinking about that user, again, thinking about the user journey and the experience, rather than, people are so desperate to kind of, sell stuff, for example, or book a discovery call. And it's very much that you've got to kind of educate people. You've got to create that trust. You've got to build that up, I think, and you can't just rush into it. It's again, it's like us talking, for example, now, and if we were at like a networking event and we met for the first time, for example, and you often meet people at networking events, and they're just telling you how great they are, and they're just like, do you want to buy my stuff? Do you want to let's book a call, let's talk, buy my stuff. It's all me, and they don't really kind of create that opportunity where they, you kind of meet them or add them online, or go to their website, find out a little bit more about them, and then a little bit later on in the kind of buying decision, you kind of decide that you want to work with them. rather than sort of rushing in. It's kind of a lot of people kind of rush in. So
Yeah.
that's a
Tell
key.
us how this would apply to the discovery call, because I like that a lot. And I'll share what I have in place, but yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Like, okay, so I get it for the book.
Yeah.
How would you apply it to a discovery call?
So for a discovery call, for instance, you've obviously got call to actions on the site. So I've got call to action if people do want to book a discovery call straight away, and they can click, book a discovery call. So that's for people that have already made their decision. So they've looked at your website, they've seen your homepage, seen your about page, what you offer. So problem solution, you can help them with their whatever their problems are, issues are, and they've already made the decision to work with you, and they just click book a discovery call. So those kind of people are sort of warm leads, and they're in that sort of they want to buy from you, and they want to buy what you've got. But people that are maybe need to be a bit more educated, for example, you'd kind of maybe, I've got a few landing pages, for example, that I've created for coaches, where they can find out a bit more about me, about what I do, the kind of clients that I work with. So it's kind of testimonials, social proof, talking through people through the discovery process that I go through with clients. And then from there, they can decide to book a call at the end. So they can scroll right down to the bottom, and then they can decide to book a call. So those kind of people need probably a bit more educating and kind of getting to know you. It just depends. I think if people are coming from online, and if they've never met you before, then they're going to need to know a bit more about you, and probably add you on social media as well, follow you on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, for at least a couple of months or whatever time period, and before they start working with you. People that you've already met from sort of online or networking or face-to-face networking, and they kind of know you and aware of the problems and solutions that you kind of solve. They're a little bit more of a warmer lead, so they just want to book a discovery call, and they just want to talk to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say the quality then also of this discovery call is very different. If someone comes to your site for the very first time and then just books a discovery call, to me, those are often the clients who just want to discover about, website design. So it's not like they are necessarily already on the gentle sales path, like I call it, that they don't know about you. They're not buying into you yet. They're just buying, they just need a website, right? And it's like, oh, this is one of them. Okay, let me book a call. And then you're basically spending your whole time on this call educating them, instead of actually them educating themselves on their own time. That's how I look at it. I'm like, well, I have all these things on my website. Spend some time there, listen to the podcast, read the books, whatever, there's a lot of information there. And then let's get on a call, because otherwise what often happens is we can spend our days on these discovery calls, and then kind of end up being frustrated because, people are just not there yet in terms of where they are in their sales decision. And so that's why often people who come to me and say, I'm not closing, I'm like, well, what do you have on your, I call them signposts, what do you have on your gentle sales path, like your template that you're going to share with us for the landing page, right? It's education like that then also leads to a better quality sales call. So yeah, I totally see that. I also have an intake form where I then actually ask, have you read my blog post? Have you listened to so that I also come to this conversation knowing where they're at, because there's nothing worse than to be on a sales call and feel like being sold to. And, it's like, and then after I do all this talking, they're like, actually, I just want to talk to you and see how we can get started. And so it's really good to pick them up where they're at, right?
Yeah, and also you don't want to be in that position of convincing them, kind of thing, as well. I think exactly. On the sales, because on the discovery call, I think in my earlier days, I would often have to convince clients because before I kind of niche down and work with coaches and consultants and mentors and speakers and authors. I used to work with quite a large variety of clients, and I didn't really niche down in anything, so I didn't specialize in anything. So I was seen more as a commodity. So it was all about price, and it was all very much fixated on price. So I'm kind of like I lost track of thought of where we were
Right.
checking around. Where were we? Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's so important. Any other things about the engagement and how to get more inquiries, because I think that's something that people are really wanting to know more about, like which part is content related and which part then is, like, we didn't talk about newsletter signups, right? What are some mistakes you see there that on websites related to that?
I think a lot of times I think people have a newsletter sign up and they don't really know what it is, or they don't really have a newsletter in place. So I think one of the key things is to have just a mailing list or a newsletter in place and tell people, like, I've got one that's coming soon at the moment, so I'm just taking emails at the moment, so I actually don't have a newsletter at the moment. But a lot of the times people are just having a newsletter for the sake of having a newsletter, and I think you've got to have some sort of strategy behind it and know, because it is another way of bringing in leads, but it's not going to be straight away. Like, it's not going to be a like sort of today, tomorrow, or next week. You're still educating people about what you do, and it's the same with a blog. On your website, people come back and they will read your blog. Newsletters, so people are aware of your services, what you're offering, and they can see you on social media as well. And if they've signed up to your newsletter, for example, as well, they see you quite active. So the more you're they're aware of what you do and who you are as a person, they have you in mind. So even if it's not for them, they will have you in mind for someone else. So as long as you're like that person that they think of when they think about sort of humane marketing, for example, and me being a web design consultant working with coaches, I want to be like the first person that they think of. So you want to have that. The newsletters were part of that sort of marketing strategy. I think people don't often look at that hand in hand, like together. They just sit kind of separate. But anything that you do, if it's social media posts, newsletters or blogging, you should always have like an end goal, and you should always think about it from what benefit are you giving to your clients, and it shouldn't really be just bragging about how great you are. Again, with the website, a lot of times people are bragging about what qualifications or what things they're getting up to and what they're doing, as opposed to how they're benefiting their clients and what kind of problems they can solve them for their clients.
Yeah, thank you. So let's say, okay, we have designed this website, we have the content, everything is in place. And then I'm sure you're used to that. The client's like, oh, I need to change, this copy again and this and that. When do you hand the site over? And is there, can we still change it? I think that's probably a question that people wonder, is like, okay, I've heard of WordPress, how easy is it to then change the site myself?
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, if the client either wants content or design changes, I have a maintenance package that I offer clients that for the upkeep of the site and updates as well. So that could be an ad hoc kind of basis, or they could pay as and when they need it. But ideally, I also do videos as well. So I do a video to show clients how to edit the site themselves. So they've got like that on their dashboard, how to upload images and text and change all that stuff. But it just depends on the client if they're you know, a lot of coaches are too busy, so they don't have time to update their site themselves. So that I would fall into two categories: the one that, you know, they do have time and they would like to do it themselves, or they're too busy and they would like you to do it. So it depends on
So
the
basically,
actual kind of,
it can be changed. It just needs time.
yeah.
Or you can do it for them, and well, takes money.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
always
but
that equation, right?
But it should always be changed. I mean, I do recommend for, you know, keeping a site regularly up to date. It helps with your SEO, search engine optimization. You know, Google likes it when you've got up-to-date blogs and content on there. So a lot of times people will design a website, have it designed, and they will just get excited and launch the website and make a lot of buzz around it. And then within a few months or a year down the line, they've done nothing with the website. So they're not added to the website and there's nothing new on their website. So from a search point of view, it gets ranked lower. So the more engagement you've got on the site, the more people that are clicking on the site. So you want to constantly be putting content on the site and advertising on, you know, social media, for example, and plugging the site as much as possible. But a site should always be kept up to date in terms of the content as much as possible. But again, it's an additional charge. So once the site has been done and handed over to you, it's an additional charge. It's kind of like decorating, for example, if this room that we're in, for example, if you know, it's painted white, but if you wanted to paint it, you know, yellow or whatever, you know, there'll be an additional charge to purchase paint and repaint the whole room. And then again, if you wanted to paint it like orange or something or purple in a year's time, it can be done, but it's going to cost more time and money to kind of do that, you know.
Of course,
yeah. You know.
So you mentioned maintenance. To me, there's two different things. There's maintenance, which is kind of like updating the plugins and making sure it's the last and most recent WordPress edition, things like that, or you know, even backups. And then there's updates, which is content updates or even design updates. So they're separate things. Like how much maintenance, so purely functionality oriented maintenance, does a website take once it's published?
Yeah, so once a website is published, no matter what kind of software you're using, I mean, I build websites using WordPress. If you could be using Wix or another software, for example, but a site needs to be maintained in terms of security, any kind of bugs that can happen on a site. So it needs to be anything plugin related that you've got, any software that you use to kind of build. For example, if you've got I'm trying to think now, scheduling software, any kind of appointment booking software, any additional plugins that are required. If you've got Google, for example, you've got Google Sitekit on there, you've got Yoast SEO on there. So you've got all these kind of different plugins on there. They need to be kind of up to date and maintained. Otherwise, they can kind of break the site as well. So if you've not updated a site after a while, and if it runs into any kind of conflicts or plugin from different plugins, it can actually break the whole site. So you've got that as one issue, and then also you've got potential. Any site is vulnerable. Online is vulnerable to being hacked as well. So
twice to me already. So
yeah. So
it's not like this thing that never happens. It does happen.
Yeah. So again, software in terms of security wise needs to be monitored. So there's all that kind of stuff to kind of think about, and that's the more kind of techie kind of stuff, and that's the stuff that a lot of people don't like to kind of think about. But it's very important because obviously in terms of the longevity of the site, it's not nice to have a site that's being hacked. You know, so it's always good to kind of, it's almost like insurance. It's always good to kind of just pay the extra to have someone do it, or at least invest the time. You know, you could watch YouTube videos and learn how to do it yourself. But again, it depends if you want to spend the hassle or time kind of learning that as well. But
it's the hassle of learning it, but it's also then the hassle of finding somebody who's gonna fix your hacked site, right?
Yeah.
Where if you have kind of put aside some for maintenance, then that person somehow becomes responsible as well of having to fix the site, or at least you'll come up with a fair price. Where if you just come to a new person and say, hey, please, can you fix my site? It's been completely hacked. They're going to charge you quite a bit to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, obviously with backups, you know, all our sites are backed up. Content and design is backed up regularly. So if there is a problem, we can get back to a backup. So it's quite easily. Again, a lot of people don't back up their site, so a lot of people sort of presume that's already done. And I've seen it in the past with clients that come to me and they've had cheap hosting in the past, where they said, you know, they can get hosting for like, I don't know, like $4.99, $5.99 or $10 or whatever it is a month or whatever it is, and they think they're really happy with the hosting, but then they don't realize the fact that there is no added security or backups in place.
Right.
And when something does go wrong, all their content, everything is lost on the site again as well. And if you've got no backup of that, or you've got, for example, your blogs, if they're written in sort of Word documents and you've got them stored on your computer, it's good, you know, that's another backup. But again, you've got to go for the hassle of, you know,
republishing everything
everything and that sort of thing. So it's very that's a hassle as well, you know.
Yeah. All right, we want to end in a positive note, not in a
yeah, sure.
oh my God, it's so scary out there. Yeah, just like everything, yes, everything can happen. It's online, and there is that kind of tech stuff that happens. So but yeah, like I said, let's not end in a negative note. You have a template that you're sharing with our listeners, so why don't you tell us a little bit of what that is and where people can find it?
Yeah, sure. So I'll provide a link. It's called the 2-week landing page challenge for coaches. So it's a lot of clients used to come to me that used to have, you know, trouble creating a landing page. And I realized that I didn't really have, you know, everything stuck in my mind, and I like kind of can do it, but I don't realize that all this information was out there. So I thought I'd create like a template for people to for coaches to download and very easily kind of put together. So I'll provide the link for that. But yeah, it's just anyone that's kind of in the coaching space that needs to create a landing page to sell a book that they're promoting, or a call to action, book a discovery call, or any kinds of call to actions that they really just want that specific key, rather than promoting it on the entire website. They just want to specifically
one pager.
One pager. So it's a template that people can freely download. And again, if you did want to book a discovery call with me, and if you needed any help, I'm available to help you out with any questions as well. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, thanks. We'll make sure we link to that. And yeah, your website is also in the text, jamesmall.co.uk, right? Where are you most hanging out? Sorry.
And it's /coaches to go on the actual coaching landing page.
Okay, great.
Sure.
And you're mainly on which social media platform?
So I'm quite active on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the most
best
active.
place. Okay.
It's the best place to kind of connect with me and find out more about me, and just DM me, and I'm always happy to talk. So
wonderful. I always have one last question, and that is, what are you grateful for today or this week?
What am I grateful for today? I suppose I'm grateful for feeling a lot better and being able to eat normal food again. Because I've had an ongoing chest infection for the last couple of months.
Oh no.
So yeah, I did kind of stop working for a little while, and I couldn't eat certain foods. So I'm glad that I've got my energy back, and you know, I'm able to I'm not out of breath, and I'm able to enjoy food.
Which is a big deal. Yeah. It's like,
yeah.
We don't realize it until we don't have it anymore, right?
Yeah. And I'm actually going to a retreat this weekend, helping my friend out. We were talking about it earlier. So I'm going to be helping them out in the kitchen, and there's going to be yoga and meditation and sound therapy there. So yeah, I'm grateful for being able to kind of take part in that as well. So
sounds delightful.
So yeah, I'm grateful for. that. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on to the show. Really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks, James.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching and being part of a generation of marketers who cares for yourself, for your clients, and for the planet. We really are change makers before we are marketers. So go ahead, be the change you want to see in the world. And I hope to see you again next week. Take care.